What the heck is going on, guys? Sports Snippets. Dennis Sullivan here on a Wednesday, the 10th of March. What's going on? Here to talk with you about a topic that we just can't ignore in the NBA, and that is who are the top coaches in the league thus far, as we are in the midway point of the season, getting ready for action to restart, as it's just restarting right now, second half of the season. In the NBA, I do have for you my top 5 Coach of the Year candidates. Again, thus far, plenty of basketball to be played. If you do like the content of this particular video, go right ahead, hit that like button. Also, feel free to subscribe to my channel, Sports Snippets with Dennis Sullivan. So without further delay, guys, let's get right into this. Let's talk about the coaches, the NBA coaches managing those highly talented players, young players who've been around for a while in their 30s, right? A whole bunch of different personalities who make a decent amount of money, if not a whole heck of a lot of money. And these are the guys that got to get them to play defense, to hustle, to do what it takes to contribute to a successful team in the National Basketball Association. Not an easy task. Oh, and you got to win games too, by the way. That's part of it too, right? So I took, one thing I factored into was overall improvement of the team, different things, you know, where the team's at right now, of course, has a lot to do with it. I mean, you're not going to be 5 games under 500 and be on this list. It's just not going to happen. So we're going to get right into it, guys. My number 1 choice, I'm going to start from the top, work my way down. But it's all really close, especially with 1 and 2. But I'm going to give the edge right now, in my humble opinion. Coach of the Year, I got to go with Monty Williams from Phoenix. The Phoenix Suns head coach is doing a phenomenal job. Has his team as with the second best record in the West at 24-11. Basically, they have come out of nowhere, guys. They've come out of nowhere. Of course, you do have Devin Booker, who is a tremendous athlete, tremendous talent. Chris Paul, of course, came over to the Suns. Chris Paul's had a lot to do with this as well, the success of the Phoenix Suns. But Booker's your star. He's done a great job with this team. He's got DeAndre Ayton in the middle, doing a lot of good things for him. Bridges, Dario Saric, Cameron Johnson, Jay Crowder's a nice pickup for the Suns. So he's blended all this talent together, has Monty Williams, and he's made it work. I mean, it's not really the greatest starting 5. I mean, you got a really good backcourt in Booker and Paul, and the bench is pretty good. He's getting some good scoring off his bench, but he's got this team right now. If the season were to end right now, Phoenix Suns are the number 2 seed in the Western Conference. Actually, they are 2 up in the loss column on the Los Angeles Lakers. Lakers 24-13, Suns are 24-11. Number 2. Oh yeah, this guy could easily be number 1. You can make a case for this second guy to be number 1, but I have him number 2 on my list. Quinn Snyder, head coach, Utah Jazz. Remember him as a college basketball player. That was fairly long ago, but I've been watching basketball for a pretty long time. Quinn Snyder was pretty good college basketball player in his day, as I recall. What a job Quinn Snyder's done for the Utah Jazz. Best record in the NBA, 27-9. They are absolutely fantastic so far this season. He's got a good team. He's got a pretty good bench. He's got some really good players though in his starting lineup. I mean, you name it. I mean, you got Mitchell doing a lot of scoring. Of course, he's got that team playing really well. Bogdanovich obviously is a big player for them. You know, you have obviously Mike Conley. That was the name I was checking my notes. Mike Conley's been a big pickup for Utah. And, of course, Rudy Gobert. How can we forget Rudy Gobert? He's pushing all the right buttons, is Quinn Snyder. He easily could be number one. I'm going to give Monty Williams the edge right now. Snyder as a solid number 2. Right behind him, who do we have? The one and only Doc Rivers, who's had a tremendous coaching career, whether it be for the Clippers, whether it be for the Boston Celtics, and now he winds up in Philadelphia doing a tremendous job, has his team ahead of the Nets in the standings, his team at 24-12, about a half game ahead of the Nets in the Eastern Conference, so that's going to be a battle along with the Bucks. They're going to be battling it out all year, but Doc Rivers has taken a team that, he took over a team that really took a few steps back last season. This was coming after, if you recall a few years ago, I mean the Sixers, if there was one team that was on the rise a couple of years ago, it was the Philadelphia 76ers, but that was not the case last year. Doc Rivers comes in to basically repair a situation, and he's done a great job. He's got Joel Embiid playing out of his mind. He is the Eastern Conference MVP, in my opinion, thus far, Joel Embiid. He's got him playing top-notch basketball. He's got Ben Simmons, who's always going to be playing top-notch all-star basketball, and he's got Tobias Harris, don't forget, averaging around 20 points a game. That's a big key for the Philadelphia 76ers. Number 4, well, he's got a long last name, guys. Tom Thibideau. I had to put Thibs as the the abbreviated version. Tom Thibideau for the New York Knicks, head coach, bringing the New York Knickerbockers, back to respectability and back to a possible playoff appearance. He has them at the break at 19-18. They're a game over 500. He's doing it they're playing tough defense. You got Noel blocking a whole bunch of shots. You got some good players, but he doesn't have this is not an all-star lineup that Thibideau has. So he's pushing the right buttons for sure. Remember, he did a great job in Chicago with the Bulls, so he's got a really good track record. Does Thibideau, and he's doing great for the Knicks. Now the big question is, can they keep it up? That's a big question. I don't know. Guys, I don't know how long he's going to be able to keep the Knicks playing over 500. If he does, and if they finish over 500, I'm telling you right now, he goes up to at least 3rd, in my opinion. If Thibideau has the Knicks in a 72-game season, if they win 37 or more games, I'm telling you right now, guys, Thibideau is at least 3rd on my list. Will that happen? That's the question that remains to be answered, and that Thibideau will have to really step it up for him to accomplish that feat, and also to get in the playoffs. I have to see more from the Knicks, I just do, but I can't say enough about the job that he's done as head coach. Checking in at number 5, you could make the case really for him to be as high as 3rd, in my opinion. But I'm going to say former league MVP. It wasn't even that long ago, right, guys? Steve Nash for the Brooklyn Nets. Steve Nash has the Nets. Now, yeah, don't get me wrong. The Nets have picked up, obviously, you can pick up James Harden. A few years back, recently picked up Kevin Durant, who was injured last season. Kyrie Irving, of course, they also picked up. So now you have Durant. You've had Durant and Kyrie Irving, but now you have them both healthy, and then you get James Harden. So, that's the best 3. That's the best big 3 right now in the NBA. Nash has his team at 24-13, a half a game behind Doc Rivers and the Philadelphia 76ers. Who are 24-12, Nash right behind them, 24-13. Once they got Harden, the wins started to add up more and more and more. They've been playing better since they picked up Harden this year. Something tells me, guys, that Steve Nash is going to be, this is just a vibe right here, something tells me that he's going to be a coach in the NBA for many years to come. Like, we'll be sitting at home watching NBA basketball on a weekend or a weeknight or something, and 10, 15, 20 years from now, you're going to see Steve Nash on the sideline. That's just a vibe. Something tells me, first of all, if he wants to be a coach, I'm pretty sure he could. I've heard some great things about him as a head coach, and that he's doing a great job. Will he want to be a head coach for an extended period? That's the question that remains to be answered in the years to come. But Steve Nash, not easy. I mean, you might be thinking, well, he's got Durant and Kyrie Irving and James Harden. Yeah, but he's pushing the buttons, the right buttons with this team. He doesn't have the greatest bench, but he's working through that. And he's managing, the stars effectively as well, the superstars. I've noticed they're getting there as far as rebounding the basketball. So you look at the Nets, they got to rebound and play defense, which you got to play at least decent defense. And it seems like they're working hard to improve in those areas. They're definitely not a lock for the East. I keep hearing, sometimes I'll hear like on sports radio, like, oh, like the Nets are a lock for the East. I mean, sure, you can make them one of your favorites. You can even make them your favorite as far as the team that you're going to pick to go to the finals from the East. But this isn't a lock, guys, by any stretch of the imagination. You have other good teams in the East. Nash is doing a really good job. So him and Thibideau can both move up. We'll see how this all works out. I do have an honorable mention guy that I couldn't put up here. He was technically my number 6 choice, and there's a few others. And when it comes to Coach of the Year, I mean, please comment below, and I welcome you to comment below if you have a choice that's not on this board. Let me know, guys. I'd love to know this. I also want to make honorable mention of Terry Stotts of the Portland Trailblazers, who's doing a phenomenal job. Has his team playing 7 games over 500 at 21-14. And they are, I believe that is a 5th seed. I do have here in my notes. Here we go. Yep, they're 21-14. That's the 5th best record. They're ahead of Denver by about a half game. But he's had to work through a bunch of injuries on that team. McCollum's been out. They've had Nurkic had the wrist problem. McCollum's got the foot problem. So I believe they're both coming back. Nurkic's supposed to be back soon. Yeah, he's back soon. McCollum had the foot problem. I also even, if I'm not mistaken, Damian Lillard was injured as well. So he's had has Terry Stotts a lot to work through and a lot to overcome this season. Greg Popovich is another one. I mean, you look at that roster. He's got the Spurs playing for either 18-14. They'd be in the playoffs if the season ended today. They're 4 games over 500. Greg Popovich doing a great job once again for the Spurs. Stotts, going back to Terry Stotts, I would have guessed he's been in the league 6-7 years. I mean, by in the league, I mean head coach of the Portland Trailblazers. He's entering his 9th, this is his 9th season as Portland Trailblazer head coach. That doesn't happen by mistake, guys. So you don't just hang around the NBA as a head coach because you're lucky. You got to be doing something right. You got to be on top of your game to last that long as a head coach in the NBA, right? In any of the big sports, you look at even Andy Reid. He's been coaching forever. I mean, that's not in the NFL. That's not by mistake. That doesn't happen by accident, right? Pete Carroll's another one. Look at these. They don't just hang around the league, or I'm using NFL now as an example. By accident. So Terry Stotts, good job. He would, if I were to do a top 6, that would be my number 6 choice. That wraps things up for this time, guys. Don't forget, go ahead and subscribe if you haven't done so. Gonna see you next video coming up this weekend. So I will see you very soon. Over and out for now.